Wasabi guys, coming back at you with another video. This is the top 10 black cards in Cube. Just to let you guys know here, every single card on this list is under $100, nothing insanely expensive. We're trying to keep it as cheap as we possibly can have it. However, we do want the power level to be pretty good. We're talking legacy vintage power level. We can get that type of power out of cards that are under $100, every single one of these cards here. This isn't going to be on the more affordable side, but we're still going to have some good cards here. Black is just absolutely stacked in terms of just good value cards in Cube drafts, just everything. You have just good removal, you have good tutors, you have good card draw, you have it all, man. You have good recursion, just awesome good value cards. It's a very well-rounded color as well, and I think that's one of the aspects that not many people bring up about black. So let's get onto this list now. Number 10, we have Phyrexian Obliterator. The only downside is that he is 4 black and is going to kind of force you into the drafting mono black primarily. You might be splashing another color, but that's as far as it's really going to go. Because honestly, if you see this guy in your drafting, there has to be something really exceptional in that same pack for you to pass on a Phyrexian Obliterator. And the only reason why you would is because of the 4 black. But really, you put him out there, he's a good attacker, he's a good blocker, and is just going to control the game, and just the fact that your opponents are going to be hesitant every time they attack, and it's just a good threat both ways. And I think you don't get that with a lot of creatures. You get more of the defensive creatures, and you have the absolute beaters. He doubles as both, and I think no matter how you play your deck, he's just a great card to draft in general. Number 9, we have Thoughtseize, one of the best turn 1 plays in the game, period. Sure enough, it shows up on this list here. Just a great card in general. You could argue Inquisition might be better in Cube drafts because there's a lot of CMC3 or lower, but at the cost of 2 life, being able to take a non-land card, period, is always going to be better. Because there are great cards that are above CMC3, and Duress is a good card in Cube drafts as well, but this definitely, I mean, because it hits practically every non-land threat, and at the cost of 2 life in addition to just the 1 black, you can't really get much better hand disruption than that, and that's why Thoughtseize is on this list. It's one of the best cards in Cube drafts, period. Then we have Dark Ritual, taking the number 8 spot here. Ramp is always going to be good, especially when you try to increase the power level of your cube. It's always important to have aggressive ramp strategies, because again, if you're going to be making a vintage cube, or if you're going to be making a legacy cube, you do need some good ramp in there. There are going to be a lot of aggressive strategies, and I mean, it's simple. It's a cheap card. It's Dark Ritual. I mean, we all know it. It's 1 black mana for 3 black mana. It's really good. It can make for some really impressive turn 1 or turn 2 plays, and I think it's exceptional. I mean, it's simple, but again, 3 black for 1 black mana is always going to be good. Not much needs to be said about it. It's just that good. Number 7, we have Renimate. This card, 1 black, and you bring a creature back from the graveyard. You lose life equal to its total casting cost. Quite frankly, that's definitely worth it. Cube, you're not going to have too many creatures you want to bring back that are super expensive, but usually it's worth taking the hit for just 1 black mana at sorcery speed. I mean, it's really good. Very cheaply costed recursion spell, and I mean, recursion is usually going to be a very important thing to draft, especially considering that people typically tend to draft removal much higher than usually anything else, and being able to have something to answer to removal to recover late game is always going to be good, and that's why Renimate makes this list here. Number 6, I have Lilliana of the Veil. Just a great disruption card if you're going to be playing cards like Thoughtseize, or even if you're not going to be building around that. Just a great card to force your opponents to sacrifice creatures, make them discard cards, you know, and then eventually if you do get to the ult, they're going to be likely rolling the dice here and sacrificing some permanents. But I mean, honestly, just that great. I mean, the plus and the minus are really what make her great, having that option of hand disruption or making them sacrifice a creature. It's just one of the best forms of removal as well. You have exiling targeted removal. This gets around hexproof. This gets around shroud. It's just great removal, having that option of forcing them to sacrifice. It's always great. So that's why she's one of the better planeswalkers in general. She's only 3 mana too, so she's one of those auto-includes, and pretty much any draft when you see her, you're most likely going to take her. She's just that dominant 1v1. Number 5, we have Recurring Nightmare. Now, earlier with Reanimate, I said it's a very good recursion spell. This lets you do this pretty much every single turn. Granted, you do need to have a creature to sacrifice in order to use it, but having that constant recursion over and over again, it's just so deadly, and it keeps you in the game, and it just makes you a dominant force long term. Usually, if you have a card like this and you have a pretty good engine, creatures that work well with sack triggers, creatures that work well when they die, creatures that work well when they ETB. It works really well with creature effects, and no matter what it is, it's just a great card to have, even if you're not trying to get back into a game, even if you're just trying to abuse another creature's ability. It's just a great card to have in general, just to sacrifice little threats to get something bigger back from your graveyard. It's always great, and it's why it's one of the most powerful black cards made as well. Number 4, we have Yog Moths Will. Now, a lot of the cards I just mentioned are very good, except for what happens when they're answered, or what happens when you have no other way of getting them back. You can Yog Moths Will, and then you can play them all over again, and it's usually going to help you win the game, and gives you the ultimate form of recovery here, and just looking in your graveyard and looking for basically all your possible outs, and having this type of card, it's just one of the best black cards, one of the most broken cards ever made as well. I mean, you're talking 3 mana, you can just start casting stuff from your graveyard. That's insane. Just absolutely one of the best black cards ever made. Number 3, though, we have Necropotence, which is arguably even more busted. 3 black mana, so it's a little bit more specific. You do have to draft more so on the black side. You skip your draw phase. It's a big deal, kind of, but you can pay 1 life to exile the top card of your library face down, and at your end step, you get the card. So you can obviously do this as many times as you want and abuse the hell out of it. So if you have no cards in your hand, you play this, and you exile 7, you get 7 at your end step, and you just refilled your hand for 7 life. So having very little drawback. I mean, you're skipping your draw phase, but who really cares? You can get as much cards as you want off of Necropotence. The only downside is you are playing a format where life is a little bit harder to come by. It does see a lot of play in Commander. It's extremely powerful, but this is one of those old school cards that it's just super powerful no matter where you put it. You just have to know how to use it. You just need to know that the deck you're putting into can recover from the loss of life off of Necropotence, or is capable of winning off of a very little amount of life. So you do have that to worry about, but I think it's just a very, very broken card, and one of the more broken cards that black has ever given us. Number 2, we have Dark Confidant. Now, just a great creature overall, and I think one of the things that makes him just an all-around just bomb in the draft is just being able to splash him into any other color. It's not so much just a mono black thing. If you're playing black at all, you play Dark Confidant, and you can do this with red, you can do this with white, it works. You can do this with any sort of strategy. I mean, it really doesn't matter. You're getting extra cards. It's not so much a black specific strategy, but having that on a creature is just always going to be good. I mean, turn 2 and just for the rest of the game, if he stays on there, he's just going to keep getting you extra card draw at the only cost of, you're losing life equal to the CMC of the card you happen to draw. So it's definitely great to get rid of the land draws that you're definitely going to be dead drawing there. So you have that plus there. You're not always going to be losing a lot of life. And also, it's a format where cards are not typically too expensive anyway. So it has that going for it as well. Just a great card in general. Consistency is usually going to win you games when you have that on a creature too. I mean, you can't go wrong there. Then number 1, we have Demonic Tutor. Definitely the best black card that you can draft. To be honest, 2 mana to put any card from your library into your hand. That is always going to be one of the most powerful effects in just the game period. Tutoring is just so valuable no matter what format you're in. You could have the smallest library possible. If you know you have a good card in there, why not just do the sure thing and tutor it up and then be able to play it? It's only 2 mana. It's always going to be insane. Just tutor up any of these cards I just mentioned prior. You have a great thing going there. Tutoring up a Yog Moths Will or tutoring up a Recurring Nightmare. That's always going to be a great thing to do. and having the options, you can obviously splash it. You don't have to play mono black, and I think that's what makes these first two cards here just so amazing, is that they're so flexible, that they fit into like any draft strategy that you're trying to pull off here. Just so great and so versatile. Really not much else I can say about it though. So anyway guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and share it if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you like my videos. I do a lot of other cool shit. So Void here, signing off. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.